Something else that President Trump won on is his messaging surrounding immigration. And Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that in his first 100 days, the border is now secure. And CBP found that there were record low border crossings back in March, although President Trump's deportation policies are largely controversial in this first 100 days. Do you think immigration is a bright spot, or rather brighter spot, when you're looking at the economy and tariffs? But how would you grade President Trump on his immigration stance?
I think immigration, maybe for the first time ever in a presidential, was ranked really high in what people were worried about, right there next to the economy. And so I think Americans also wanted someone who was going to be strong on our border security and make sure that our America's generosity isn't taken advantage of. However, I don't think that the way some of these things have been handled has been very helpful to the president. I don't think tariffs are great. I don't think what he's done with immigration is great, especially with some of those very out there cases that people are paying attention to. I think that Americans are concerned, and also, I think that some Americans aren't totally buying what's coming out of the White House, and they're saying, well, release all the documents then and let us decide for ourselves. And we're getting sort of some redacted paperwork, I guess, for lack of a better term, or just certain pages of certain documents, right? And, I think it's important to have strong border security, but I don't know that he's done it the best way either. And I think he needs to sort of sharpen the way that he's doing things. When we talk about Elon Musk, he was taking a sledgehammer to the government, right? And we said, you need a scalpel approach. And so I think the president should take some of that into consideration and do a scalpel approach of how he's handling tariffs and immigration XYZ, because he's kind of going full force immediately. And Americans are kind of a little concerned, I think.
I want to now set our sights abroad. There are two wars that President Trump talked about on the campaign trail. And one of them, he said, I will end it in a day. And that was Russia-Ukraine. That war is still ongoing. The United States is in the midst of negotiations between the two. Some experts I've spoken to have said President Trump seems to be rushing this, seems to be appeasing President Putin just a little bit there. When it comes to the Middle East, there is still a war between Israel and Hamas. How would you grade President Trump's foreign policy? Talk to us about that.
I don't think very great either. I mean, when we talk about ending these wars, one, as a proud American, I know that we like to consider ourselves a global superpower. However, ultimately, at the end of the day, if Putin or Hamas doesn't want to end the war, I don't know how much influence a U.S. president could have. And I don't think that's specific to Trump. I would have said the same thing about Biden. I think it's important for us to be able to come to the negotiating table and bring people together. However, I don't know when Republicans became Putin sympathizers. When you think about the Cold War and Reagan and tear down that wall, I think that we've taken a very stark, different approach from back then. And we have to remember, I think we're doing a better job on this with Israel, is that Israel did not start this war, it was Hamas. Ukraine did not start this war, it was Putin. And we have to remember who our allies are and who our adversaries are.